Welcome to the JCPod, partner with Stand On Sports. I'm your host, Jane Chandler Pornell, and man, I'm not even going to lie to you. We're just going to hop right into it today. Today's going to be very simple. We got the AFC East that we're going to break down, and then, depending how long it goes, got a little bit of NFL news to talk about. If it goes super long, we'll save the NFL news for Thursday because it's not a lot of news, but there's some little stuff that's popping off. And then, besides that, AFC East breakdown. That's going to be the main goal today, and then we'll finish it off with the AFC West breakdown on Thursday. But when it comes to the AFC East, interesting. It's going to be a weirdish year. There's, I would say, 3 teams in contention. I really doubt the Patriots will be in contention. Patriots last year, we'll just start off with them. Their record was 4-13, absolutely horrendous. Just not a lot of good years. Bill Belichick's gone now. That's something that... Actually, I guess before I even get into that, I should kind of go whatever I'm going to go over. If you're new, real quick, just to put a pause on that real quick. We're going to go over pretty much, we're going to break down the record from last year. We're going to go over the new additions. We're going to go over the schedule this year, and then I'm pretty much just going to talk a little bit about my predictions for the team, and then potentially some bets I'm going to be placing on them or that I've already placed. So, like I said, going back to the Patriots, pretty much a brand whole new team this year. Mac Jones gone, Bill Belichick gone, Robert Kraft still there. They drafted Drake May at 3, I think it was. Got a few other guys as well. So this is a whole new team that we're looking at going into it. Looking at some of the roster moves they have made. They signed Ramondre Stevenson to a 4-year contract extension. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Signed Jackie Jackson. Let's see, where's the... So officially signed Javon Baker and Drake May. That's what I was looking for. Javon Baker was also a draft pick that I'm assuming... I don't know if they're how many touches he's gonna get this year, but they might be a guy they look towards as a build in the future. When we go over the roster a little bit, they got a lot of receivers, but I don't know if you'll just understand in a minute. Like, it's a lot of receivers, but it's not a lot of big name receivers. That's probably the best way to put it. They signed David Andrews to a 2-year extension. That's their center. They let go of Keyshawn Vaughn. Signed Joey Sly. It's re-signed Kyle Duggar. So the defense is going to be really, really good. That's one thing I'm going to be looking at for this team is the defense is probably going to at least be really good. It's just offensively, I don't know what we're going to get. KJ Osborne is another person they got as well. So they re-signed Kendrick Bourne as well. Like I said, they got a lot of receivers. But the biggest thing, so they also released Devontae Parker. I did forget about that. I just don't know. They signed Antonio Gibson. They also signed Austin Hooper. But like I said, going back to the Patriots a little bit, I just don't know what to expect them offensively. Drake May's going to go in at some point. They made it sound like he might go in sooner rather than later, potentially even. Right now, it's Jacoby Brissett's job, but news has come out that they pretty much haven't shut down the chance that Drake May is going to be starting. Gerard Mayo, who's also the new head coach of the Patriots, by the way. Gerard Mayo, former player under Bill Belichick. The Patriots said that Brissett's the QB1 front runner, but the door's still open for May. So, we're going to see May for sure at some point in the season. I just don't know potentially when. Before we get to their schedule, to talk about when we potentially might see May. The quarterback room is Jacoby Brissett, Drake May, Joe Milton, and Bailey Zappi. I would assume if anybody's going to go, it might be Zappi, potentially, because of older regime, quote-unquote, even though it's some of the same people. Excuse me. Running back-wise, Antonio Gibson, JaMychal Hasty, and I'm assuming Ramondre Stevenson are going to get the majority of the carries. Wide receiver-wise, they got Javon Baker, Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte, Demario Douglas, KJ Osborne, Jalen Polk, Jalen Reagor, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton. They got a lot of guys. And looking at the depth chart, we want to go based off that. It looks like it's going to be Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk with KJ Osborne, Juju, and Javon Baker all backing him up. And then third string's going to be Reagor, Tyquan Thornton, and Kayshon Boutte. Man, the fall of Kayshon Boutte's been kind of crazy. He was really, really touted at LSU, and then one thing kind of came out about something he did. They kind of forced him out of school early. It kind of got quiet. It just got really, really weird with him quick. And then all of a sudden he's third string on the Patriots. Just really, really weird sometimes how some NFL stories can play out. It's just... like I said, really, really weird. Defensive-wise, it's a lot of the same names they had last year. Matthew Judon, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers. Did they have... I think they signed Joshua Uche. Christian Gonzalez is coming back. I believe he was hurt last year. He should be coming back from injury. I mean, this team's... Sorry about that. There was a little bit of issue with the cut. But yeah, Chad Ryland's their kicker, and Joey Slide's the backup. I wonder if Chad Ryland's going to stay there at this point. I really don't know. Yeah, moving on to the Patriots schedule now. Just kind of talk about that since we pretty much... I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good for the roster. Talked about some of their key players. Tough schedule. They travel to since. Oh, I also forgot to get the strength of schedule percentages. So now that I've not done it for 3 of the 8, I might just not do it at this point because I keep forgetting to do it every time. They travel to Cincinnati, then they're home for Seattle. Travel to the Jets. Travel to San Francisco. Home for the Dolphins. Home for the Texans. Home for the Actually, the Jaguars game is played at a neutral site, so that is... My guess is one of the... I can't remember. They announced it already, but I can't remember if that's London, Dublin, whatever it is. But so that's an overseas game, which sucks. They basically lose a home game to overseas. And then they... Oh, what just happened? Sorry about that. It popped me out of something. So yeah, like I said, that's week 7. They travel overseas with the Jacksonville to play Jacksonville. And then week 8, they travel back home to play the Jets. Week 9, travel to Tennessee. Week 10, go to Chicago. Week 11, back home versus the Rams. Week 12, go to Miami. Week 13, they play the Colts at home. Week 14, that's great for late bye, but it's not really going to matter, I don't think, too much because I do not believe this team's going to be in too much of contention for a playoff race. Week 15, they play at Arizona. Week 16 at Buffalo. Week 17 versus Chargers. Week 18 versus Buffalo. That is a tough-ass schedule. I'm not going to lie to you. Even with Drake May coming in, I think he will boost the town a little bit. I just don't see them doing too much this year. I think their defense is good. I think their defense is going to be good enough to keep them in games. I don't know if it can necessarily win them games on its own, but I think it's going to be good enough to keep them in the games. But like I said, I mean, I just don't see don't see him beating Cincinnati, don't see him beating Seattle, don't see him beating the Jets. Maybe once they might because Bill Belichick's not there anymore though. So that's another thing. So this is a whole new, brand new Patriots team. So Gerard Mayo's first year also as well. So I just don't know. I just don't know if I see them beating the. I think they maybe beat the Jets one. If they say, let's just say they beat all their division opponents at least once. There's 3 of their wins. Finding a 4th one in the schedule is pretty tough. I don't think it's going to be the Chargers. Arizona, maybe. That'd probably be it if anyone. I don't think they beat the Colts even if, because at that point, even Joe Flacco, even if he's in, I think Joe Flacco would be able to beat them. Don't see them beating the Rams. I don't really see them beating Chicago, honestly. Maybe they could beat Tennessee. I could see that one. And then potentially maybe beat Jacksonville. Past that, so what? That's 3 games I gave you. And that's... So there's 6 games. Their over-unders at 4.5 at plus 122. But the 6th game I gave you is assuming they beat the Bills once, beat the Jets once, and beat the Dolphins once, which I'd argue if they're going to beat anybody once, it's probably the Dolphins, but I don't know. They're probably going to get swept potentially, I think, this year. I just don't see them winning 5 games. At max, I see a max of them at 6, and I don't even see them reaching that, so I'm going to play their under 4.5. If I had to... There's also 2 other bets I'm looking at for worst record at plus 550 and winless at plus 650. I don't know if they're going to get the worst record. We'll talk about 2 teams. We've talked about it a little bit. I think it's between them, the Panthers, and the Giants. I'm going to have a sprinkle pretty much on all 3 of those for worst record and winless. I don't think any team's going to go winless this year. I'm going to play it as a cash-out opportunity if cash-out's available where, say they go winless for like 7, 8, 9 weeks. I maybe would cash it out around like week 7. Week 8, maybe get a little bit back. I don't think a team's going to go winless this year. I think every team's going to at least win 1 to 3 games. I would say 3 one's the floor. Because I think like the Panthers. I think the Panthers improved a little bit. We'll talk about them obviously later. I think they'll win at least like 2 games. They won 2 games last year. I just don't see any team going winless this year. But, so like winless is one pretty much is out the window. It's kind of there just as a cash out option. But worst record at plus 550. I think there is potential because, like I said, Pats, Giants, Panthers, those are my 3 teams. PGP. 3 teams that I'm looking at to be the worst in the NFL pretty much. I just don't see a lot going for these teams right. Even Arizona I think is going to be slightly better than 4 wins. Like I see those 3 teams all about a 4 wins. So, I mean, Yeah, I just don't think there's going to be too much I'm going to be betting on either when it comes to like player props, team props, anything like that when it comes to the Patriots. Because I just don't even know what the roster's going to fully look like. I would not be shocked if Ramondre Stevenson had 300 carries and Antonio Gibson didn't touch the ball. I wouldn't be shocked if Antonio and him have a 50-50 split. Would not be shocked if any of the receivers break away from the other. I mean, there's just way too much unpredictability personally for me to even want to try and touch it with a 4-win team. And then when is Drake May going to come in? That's another question. But just to look through some of them, I'm not even, Patriots be 6-0 in the AFC East. I don't even know why it's an option. Yeah, no. Matthew Judon at 15+ sacks, the only one that I think to. That maybe Christian Gonzalez 5 interceptions are probably the only two realistically, because I don't think they're gonna. Ron Stevenson going to score 10 touchdowns. I don't even think just no. So anyway, I think it really kind of does it for the Patriots. So we're gonna move on to my interesting. This is very interesting. We're gonna be talking about this team, the Dolphins. Some news just came out about Odell Beckham. He is going to be placed on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP, for the start of training camp. Understanding is that Beckham is working through a minor thigh and is part of the plan to easing him back into football. I'm not going to lie, what's happened with Odell is kind of crazy. It's just crazy how the injuries have just basically completely derailed him at this point. It's hard for him to even be able to stay in a full game or get, whatever you call it. Just be able to get a lot of targets, all that again. I mean, literally, he was going to win Super Bowl MVP towards ACL. And then ever since then, it's been slowly just to the point where it's like, man, I don't know if we're going to fully see a full Odell season again, which really sucks because he's a very, very talented dude. Something I want to step back to real quick. The team that scored the least in the NFL, you got the Patriots at plus 500, Giants at plus 600, Panthers at plus 800. I think the Panthers are actually going to be somewhat talented on offense. Patriots at plus 500, that's one I'm really, really looking at. I just happened to see this right as I moved on to the Dolphins, so sorry to step back to the Patriots real quick. Timestamp wise, it's not going to matter too much. If you're watching live, it might be a little funky, or not. You know what I mean. But it's going to be a little bit funky for you guys, but for those other people who are timestamping it, probably should be fine. Patriots at plus 500 though, to be the score the least. Like I said, I just don't know offensively what they're going to be. They're going to probably have some cushion with Drake May not starting for a bit. So offensively, they're going to be hindered a bit with Jacoby. I mean, I read out their schedule. They're playing some really, really, really tough teams. So that's between them and the Giants. Those are going to probably be two teams I'm probably going to place money on after. Shout out Xander Schauffele. He won the British Open this weekend. Had a little bit of money on him. Might be using all of that on some of these NFL futures. Because actually, yeah, as we speak, I'm actually going to take both of those for the Giants and the Patriots to score the least. I'm going to just put a baby 30 on each. We're not going to go too crazy. Got a lot more important futures to place than who's going to score the least in the NFL. But, like I said, I do really like the Patriots or the Giants. I'll talk about the Giants more when we get to them in probably about a week or two. But, Patriots plus 500, score the least. Oh, yeah. Might not be bad. Team to concede the most points. If you want to take a peek, they actually have a lot of respect on the Patriots. Patriots plus 2,500 to give up the most points. Cardinals, Commanders, Giants, Broncos, and Panthers are your top 5 to give up the most points. I'd probably potentially lean Panthers there. Broncos, maybe, but I just see the Broncos being a little bit better. The Colts being pretty high on this list hurts my soul a little bit, but that's like Gus Bradley defense for you. Anyway, we're going to bounce back to the Dolphins, like I said. Dolphins record last year, they finished the season 11-6, made it to the playoffs. I have to bring this up every time. Shout out me and my boy Rowan. Predicted that playoff game to a T almost. We set, at least for the Dolphin side of it. We talked about it on his show. We gave out a correct score. Correct score for the Dolphins. It was them to score 0 points exactly. And then I brought it up to him. It's like, hey, just to be safe, I'm also going to take Tyreek Hill to score. Or sorry, not Tyreek Hill. I think I did bet Tyreek Hill to score a touchdown, but I took the Dolphins to score 7 points just on the off chance that they got to bomb the Tyreek Hill. And then sure enough, They got a bomb to Tyreek Hill. He ends up scoring a touchdown. And, yeah, they end up losing, I think, like 21-7 to the Chiefs, 26-7 to the Chiefs, whatever, in that hypothermia game. But the second, Rowan and I talked about it on his show, but the second we realized is both Colts, like, oh, yeah, the Dolphins ain't got a chance. But anyway, moving on to the Dolphins of this year. I don't know if I feel too confident in them. We've heard me talk about issues with them defensively. I don't know. They generally have a lot of talent when you look at, like, player-wise. They do have a lot of talent. I just don't know if I fully trust them, especially with Tua at quarterback. I don't know if I fully trust Tua. I trust Mike McDaniels as a coach. I don't know. Defensively, I don't know what to expect from them fully. New defensive coordinator. They lost their heart and soul in Christian Wilkins in the middle and kind of just let him go. I get that you kind of don't want to pay defensive linemen that money, but here's like the perfect exception to why you pay, or perfect exception to paying that guy that much money. My Lord, was that a struggle to get out. Yeesh, boy. Anyway, but that's why you pay guys like that who are homegrown, leaders of your team, plays every down, heart and soul of the team. Somebody came out today and said he might be one of the best trash talkers in the NFL. I forget who said that, but it's just stuff like that, and they just let that out the building. So that didn't sit right with me. That kind of spoke to a lot, and I understand that they're going to probably pay Tyreek Hill, have to pay Tua. It's just like, man, you just hate to see it, really, and especially as a defender at heart and a defensive lineman. Man. Shaquille Barrett has retired for them. So that's a pass rusher they lose. Salvon Ahmed, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips. Oh, sorry. So Salvon Ahmed is on the active non-football injury list. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Isaiah Wynn are on the active physically unable to perform list. That sucks. They have that's 3 or 4 pass rushers already that they're going to be without to start the season. I'm assuming they did sign Chop Robinson, though, to his rookie contract, so hopefully he'll be able to do some good things for them. They signed Jalen Waddle to an extension, 3-year extension at that. Looking at some other important moves that they potentially made, I don't think I'm seeing too much. They signed Odell Beckham. We talked about him a little bit in the Patriots section, about how his injuries have kind of sucked, but he's basically on the physically unable to perform list, and they're going to ease him back into things to get him back. Yeah, past that, signed Calais Campbell. I thought that was a really, really good signing by them. I think one of their best signings was signing Calais Campbell. They signed Jonnu Smith. Let's see. They re-signed Jake Bailey, so they kept him. They signed Shaq Barrett, but like I said, he ended up retiring a little bit later on. They released Davian Howard, signed Syrian Neal. I don't know if it's in his place, but that was a move they did make. Re-signed River Craycraft and Braxton Berrios, and then they agreed to terms with Raheem Mostert on another 2-year deal. Looking at their 2 deep real quick, Tua is obviously the starter. They still have Mike White and Skylar Thompson backing him up. Raheem Morris, Devon Achane, and Jalen Wright is apparently over Jeff Wilson on this depth chart, so I'm curious to see how that will work out. I'm assuming I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have the same amount of rushing touchdowns as last year. I would assume not. I'm assuming it's going to regress a little bit, but I don't know if Raheem Mostert or Devon Achane who's going to end up being overtaking who, because of just they want to keep both guys healthy, but they potentially might be able to have just as big a season as last year, depending on the schedule, obviously. And depending, obviously, who gets more carries. Because I think there's a chance that potentially Devon Achane is going to be... What's the right word? Like the starter, I guess, quote-unquote. But, I mean, I know they're going to split time, obviously. But I think Devon Achane might get like a 60-40 split of time. I don't know. So we're going to have to... When it comes to like their futures, that's going to be something I'm really, really going to be interested in. I'll talk about it here in a minute when I talk about the bets. Tyreek Hill, Braxton Berrios. Our wide receivers, they got some Jalen Waddle, River Craycraft action, then Odell Beckham Jr., like I said, who's hurt, so you might see Malik Washington, Braylon Sanders, or Braxton Berrios, River Craycraft step up in that spot. Jonnu Smith, Durham Smythe are the tight ends, still got Alec Ingold. Teron Armstead, Isaiah Wynn, who's out, just talked about 2 of their big offensive linemen. Calais Campbell defensively, Jalen Williams, Bradley Chubb, when they need to get them back, that's going to be huge. Javon Holland's still there. Jordan Poyer was a big signing for them in the offseason. Jalen Ramsey's still there. So, I mean, defensive, that's what's crazy is they have a lot of things that I do like about their defense. It's just the way they're building their team and their mindset. And then the biggest thing is, I don't think I have the biggest issue with the defense. I think everything's, honestly, it comes down to the quarterback. They just got some news. Matt Stafford will be present for camp. That was just reported. That's what got me sidetracked. But I think I'm kind of okay with this team. I just don't fully trust Tua anymore, especially since he's lost a little bit, obviously due to injuries and concussions and everything. I just do not trust Tua. He didn't look the best last year at points. I mean, there's times where when it's in rhythm and he doesn't have to think and he can just go, it looks amazing. But there's some other games when sometimes it goes off script a little bit. Other stuff's going wrong. He just doesn't look right. Very similar, I think, to Trevor Lawrence, where I would say he's obviously, I think, a top 15 quarterback, but I don't know if I can put him in the top 10. I'm not. This is looking at it from a full season aspect. I know he has games where he's simply amazing. They dropped 70 on the damn Broncos, and I mean, truly, first half of the season looked really, really good, but then they hit that. The issue that happens is they hit that part of the season where it gets cold, and then all of a sudden, nothing happens. They don't look the same. They don't look nearly as good. The speed, while still somewhat there, it just seems off. Last year, I think they had a bit of a losing streak going into. Excuse me. I think they had a bit of a losing streak going into the playoffs potentially. I don't think it's anything major, but I think they lost like 2 or 3 at one point going in out of their last like 5. I just can't remember the schedule off the back of my head, but like literally going into the cold, it was just like, oh yeah, no, this team stands no chance. Even in the playoff game too, it looked cold out there personally. It's just I don't know. I don't got a lot of good vibes out there. Quarterback position, it's one of those weird things we talk about almost every week now at this point, where you can't move on from the guy if you got a guy because you don't know when you're going to get another guy. But at the same time, it's like this is very similar to Dak Prescott, where I think Tua is good enough to get into the playoffs, but I don't think he gets them past the first or second round. And like I said, when they go in the colder climates, I don't know if I fully trust the offense and everything. So we'll just have to see. Honestly, when it comes to their schedule this year, I think it should be the second place schedule, so they should be playing some hard teams, but not as many hard teams as the Bills would be. Week 1, they play against Jacksonville. Week 2, it's Buffalo. Week 3, they travel to Seattle. Week back home for Tennessee. Week 5, they travel to New England. They got a Week 6 bye. That's all absolutely horrendous. That also is going to go into the over-under we're going to talk about here in a second with the win total. Because, Week 6 bye is not it. Let me tell you what. Then after the bye, they play the Colts. They travel to Indy to play the Colts. Play home versus Arizona. Week 9, they travel to Buffalo. Then to travel to LA Week 10. Week 11, they're home for the Raiders. Home for New England after that. Travel to Green Bay. Home versus the Jets. Travel to Houston. Home for the 49ers. Travel to Cleveland. Travel to the Jets. That is not an easy schedule, let me tell you what. And I believe their win total is about at 9. I believe I'm going to take the under. I believe it's at 9.5, and I think I'm going to take the under because I think they're going to be about a 9-8 team. Would not be shocked if it's slightly worse than that. I thought I accidentally closed out of the book. I meant to leave the book open that I was using, but after I placed those bets out of habit, I just closed it. So win totals, we're looking for Dolphins, and they should be up at the top. Win total over-under at 9.5 minus 122. The under 9.5 is plus 100. I think I might go that. Under. I'm thinking they're going to be under win. I think I'm going to go their under wins. 9. Let's see. If we're going through their schedule, assuming they're Dolphins, they are. I think they can beat Jacksonville. I think they'll beat Buffalo potentially early on the season. Maybe lose to Seattle. Beat Tennessee. There's 3-1. Beat New England is 4-1. We'll just say they lose to Indy because I want to be biased. There's 4-2. Beat Arizona. There's 5-2. Lose to the Bills. They're 6-2. Lose to the Ravens. Rams are 6-3. Maybe beat the Raiders. They're 7-3. If they can beat the Patriots, there's 8. I say they lose to Green Bay. Maybe lose to the Jets. It's going to basically come down to this end of season stretch because they have Green Bay, Jets, Houston, San Francisco, Cleveland, Jets. That's honestly going to be really, really tough. Week 13, for the last 5 weeks of the season, last 6 weeks of the season, they have very, very, very tough games. And then even before that, they played New England, which is a division game. So, I mean, that could be, those aren't any toss-ups. So usually, it's in Miami. Usually Miami has good luck playing in Miami against New England. So assuming they win that game, then they have Green Bay, the Jets, Houston, San Francisco. By the way, this is at Green Bay, home for Jets, at Houston, home for San Francisco, travel to play Cleveland, and then they travel to play the Jets as well. I think it's the point at the end of the season, and like I said, these are going to be, I guess some of them are inside. Like they're traveling to Green Bay. Like that's going to be a cold game. I look for that to be very, very tough. Then they'll be home for the Jets. It's going to be warm at least. Travel to Houston, that's a dome. They don't got to worry about that. They're home for San Francisco, so it's going to be warm, but they're a really good team as well, so that's going to be tough. Travel to Cleveland, that's going to be cold. I don't know if I trust them in that. So when it gets to the end of the season, I think it's going to get very, very tough. So they got to win a lot of games early. Like I said, though, I think they potentially could go 3-1, but also the Jags could come out and surprise us. They could lose to the Bills. The Bills are in the division, tough matchup. Seattle even. Seattle could beat them and give them trouble. Tennessee, I think they could probably handle. And then traveling to New England, that ain't no giving me. But like I said, they don't have the easiest schedule. Under 9.5 wins at even money. I really think that's something I'm going to hop on. I haven't taken it yet, but I'm probably going to take it before it goes down to negative odds because, yeah, I just don't. I think they're going to be a good team, but I think they're going to be a 9-8-ish team. I just don't. I don't know. I would not be shocked if I'm wrong. They could end up being another 11-win team again. But like I said, we just talked about the end of their schedule. Very deep. Man, sorry, I had to yell at the dogs. I was letting them be for a bit, but I started getting to the point where, all right, I don't need them barking the whole damn time. But, like I said, kind of leaving off to where I was. I think they're going to be a good team. I think it's going to fall back down to the mean a little bit, though. I don't know. Like I said, though, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 11-6. Wouldn't be too shocked either if it's 9-8. Just the end of the schedule, man. That end of the season schedule. Seeing that just has me like almost all the way out now because it's like, man, that is a gauntlet of an end of the season schedule, especially if those teams project to be how we think they'll be. So look at some of their team specials before I hop over to. I think that I got to look individually for one specific player. One Tyreek Hill have 13 receiving touchdowns. It's plus 360. That's something we're going to keep an eye on. I'm going to write that down in red because that's not a confirm, but that's a maybe. Hill, 13 TDs. And this is receiving, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is only receiving. So maybe that's why it's in red is because only receiving. It's like, if it's like 13 total, I would 100% be all in. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to both score 10-plus touchdowns at plus 1,100. I don't even know if Waddle scored 10 last year. I'm going to take a quick look at that. This is one part that sucks about not having a stat guy to be able to help me. Instantly just be able to look it up and know. Waddle touchdowns 2023 is he scored 4. I'm good. I'm not even going to touch that or consider that. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was at least a little bit closer. Raheem Mostert, 15-plus rushing touchdowns is plus 1,700. I was hoping he'd be at 10. I mean, 15 is just egregious because I think him and Devon Achane are going to split time, and they have Devon Achane at 15-plus rushing touchdowns as well. I just think that's just way too egregious at this point. Them to score, yeah. All their stuff's a bit too egregious. All their numbers are super, super inflated with sense. Jalen Ramsey, 5-plus interceptions, plus 380. I mean, maybe if he gets targeted like that, but I don't really know. 2 of 40-plus pass touchdowns at plus 1,400. With the way their season schedule is going to end, I'm going to stay away from that. Bradley Chubb is starting the season hurt, so I mean, it's just, yeah. All their numbers are a little bit too big. If I can find Raheem Mostert for like 10 rushing touchdowns, that'd be doable. Let me see. So, Devon Achane, they have his rushing yards, but not his touchdowns. It's interesting. Oh, here we go. Regular season. Sorry, I really didn't think I'd have to look this up. I was really banking on it being 10. Devon Achane have over 7.5 touchdowns is plus 124. That is tempting. I'm not gonna lie to you. It just depends on if he's able to stay healthy. Sorry, I got mute there for a second trying to look up. He had 8 rushing touchdowns last year, so it's based. Man, I'm not gonna lie, that's tempting. So we're looking up him and Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert's at 7.5 as well. Oh man, so yeah. Those are two names. We're going to write those in red as well. Those are going to be two for sure we get back to. Raheem Mostert is plus 112 for over 7 for basically 8 rushing touchdowns. And then when it comes to H-Chan, he is plus 124 for that same amount. Plus 124 for, what is it? 7.5 touchdowns. Those are two I'm very, very interested in. I think that potentially, like I said, he scored 8 last year. Raheem Mostert went absolutely insane in the end zone last year, so they have it basically down by almost half. It just comes down to injury. And if one of those guys gets hurt and the other one takes over a lot of the carries, it's going to be even better. So that's probably something I'm going to end up where it's like throw like 50 on each. So that way, regardless, one of them is going to hit. It's like, hey, I'm at least up like an extra, $15 to $20 if that. And then if both hit, that'd be nice. Yeah, that's probably where I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to take Tua's passing under. It's under 4,000 yards exactly. I don't know. That'll be the last thing I check, and then we'll move on to the Bills. He threw for 4,600. Yeah, I'm just going to stay away just to be safe. Especially because, like, at the... why is it not showing the yards? I want to see what his yards were at the end of the season. But, of course, everyone's about... Yeah, I just want to see what his yards were. Oh, here we go. Actually, towards the end of the season, he did... Yeah, towards the end of the season, he started to cool off a little bit. Because you got like a 400, 200, 300, 200 at the beginning of the year. And then basically on November 19th, he threw for 325. Then after that, it's 243, 280, 240, 220, 290. I mean, it's not horrible, but yeah, I'm just going to stay away just to be safe. But under might not be a horrible play there for that. Moving on to the Bills. Bills won the division last year. They went 11-6, tied it with the Dolphins, but I believe they won the final game to basically get the tiebreaker instead. So shout out to the Buffalo Bills. Looking at some of the transactions they've had, they got rid of Stephon Diggs. They basically let him go and let him walk to the Texans, I believe, unless it was a trade. I can't remember if it was a trade or if they released him. But they signed Mitch Trubisky to a 2-year contract, re-signed Daquan Jones, signed Curtis Samuel in replacement of whatever his name is. Stephon Diggs, I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. Signed Ty Johnson to a 1-year deal, so I'm assuming he's going to be backing up James Cook. Yeah, they traded Stephon Diggs for a 2024 6th-rounder, 2025 5th-rounder, signed Lyle Collins, signed Quintez Cephas. Let's see if there's any. Signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling, released Matt Hawk, signed wrestler Gable Stevenson to a 3-year contract. That was an industry thing we talked about a little bit a few weeks ago. And they signed Keon Coleman, who was their draft pick, to a deal. So, I mean, this is going to be a very, very different team this year, Buffalo Bills team this year offensively. Instead of being the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs show, it's going to be more of, hey, Josh Allen and then a bunch of other guys that, not saying these other guys are bad, but it's just a bunch of other guys with room for somebody to separate themselves. I think James Cook's going to get a lot of carries. He's going to be a name that we look up a lot in the betting market. You got Josh Allen, obviously, we just talked about Mitchell Trubisky. And then running back wise, I got James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. It's going to be a lot of James Cook this year if he stays healthy. Wide receiver wise, I got Khalil Shakir, Marcos Valdes-Scantling, Keon Coleman, Chase Claypool, Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins. Tight end wise, I got Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Reggie Gilliams, their tight end. Deion Dawkins is the head of that offensive line. Defensively, still got Gregory Rousseau, still got Ed Oliver, still got Matt Milano, still got AJ Epinesa, still have Von Miller there. So defensively, Taylor Rapp's still there. They still got a decent amount of the same guys. Kicker-wise, Tyler Bass and Sam Martin are still there. So they still got a good amount of guys. It's just gonna be weird. It's just gonna be a weird year for the Bills. It's just gonna be a different Bills year. Every year, it just feels weird. It's starting to get to that point where it's like they're good every year. They make the playoffs every year. Can't get over that second step or get over that hump. And it's the one time they almost did. Mahomes got them in 11 seconds or 13 seconds, whatever it was. Bills have been having a really good season. Season's just haven't been able to get over the hump pretty much. First game's against Arizona, then they travel to Miami, home against Jacksonville, travel to Baltimore, travel to Houston, travel to the Jets. That's a tough 3-game road stretch. Home for Tennessee, travel to Seattle. Home versus the Dolphins, travel to Indy. Home versus the Chiefs, week 12 bye, clutch bye for them. Travel to 49ers, home for Rams, home for the Lions, travel to New England. Home versus New England, home versus Jets, travel to New England. That's going to be a very, very interesting year for the Bills. I don't know truly what to expect from them. I think their win total, over-under win total is at 11.5 again. I think they're going to be a good team, but I don't think I'm going to be betting. I don't think I'm going to be betting anything on this team outside James Cook, really, if we're being honest. Win total-wise, though, Buffalo Bills are at over 10.5 for plus 122. They can beat the Cardinals, there's 1. Beat the Dolphins, there's 2. Beat the Jags, there's 3. Ravens and Texans might be tough. They can beat the Jets once, there's 4. Beat the Texans, there's 5. We'll say they beat the Seattle, there's 6. For the sake of argument, we'll say they beat my Colts, there's 7. We'll say they beat New England twice, there's 8 and 9. They beat the Jets again, there's 10. It's going to be a tough year. I would not be shocked, especially with how healthy that the... if I had to bet it, honestly, I think they're going to be about at 10 wins, so I would take the under 10.5 wins. I just don't... I'm not going to bet this one. It's about minus 150 for their under. I'm just not going to be touching it. I'm not going to have anything really to do with it. Just really don't see the point in touching anything Bills-wise when it comes to that, because I'm not going to be really... I'm probably going to be watching and rooting slightly more for the Jets just because of the... I like a little bit more of their offense, and hopefully in fantasy there's a few pieces I want to get on their offense. So, potentially might be a little bit more interested in them, but besides that, just really not a lot of interest in the Bills, honestly, when it comes to betting them. Then to score 1 touchdown every game is minus 140. Might not be bad. Josh Allen to throw 30 touchdowns and score 10 rushing touchdowns plus 500. I don't think I want to take all that. Buffalo Bills, no. James Cook to 10 plus rushing touchdowns. That's something I might sprinkle that right now. Let me see what he scored last year real quick. Plus 1,000 for James Cook to have 10 plus rushing touchdowns. I do think he's going to be a lot more involved this year. I look for him to potentially about get that, honestly. Last year he had 4 rushing touchdowns. Oh, he has 4 in his career. Holy shit. He had 2 all last year. Okay, so 10 might be a lot. We'll come back to it in a minute, then we'll see what his over-under set at. For normally Josh Allen at 40-plus passing touchdowns is plus 1,300. Not terrible, but like I said, there's not a lot of interest in him in the Bills. It was that James Cook thing until I saw that he only has 4 rushing touchdowns in his whole career. I do think he's going to get a lot more this year, but the fact that he only scored 2 last year, yeah, let me go a little bit lower real quick. So James Cook, rushing touchdowns at 4.5 plus money. I actually really do like that. I think he'll be able to score 5. That is something I'm actually going to bet right now. That's going to be one of my first bigger ones. I'm going to actually throw 50 on that. One of my bigger futures. James Cook over 4.5 at plus 102. And this is rushing TDs, by the way. This is not all other TDs, but yeah. I think this is actually a very, very doable number. I'm shocked that it's only 4.5. I thought this honestly might be 5, 6. Well, I guess it's at 5 technically, but I thought it'd be like 5.5, 6.5, maybe even 7.5. 4 feels a little bit too low for what I think the offense is going to be this year. I mean, I read out the roster. It's not like Stephon Diggs is going to be there to vacate target. You still got Josh Allen in the goal line, but you look at that running back room. Last year they had Latavius Murray, I believe, if that's who it was. I forget who it was for them, but last year they had a running back that took a good amount of carries away from James Cook. I just don't think that's happening this year. You can see the names they have in there. You can see the names they have. Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, I believe. I think that their plan is to give James Cook a lot of touches. So I like the opportunity for him in the rushing game. The only thing that obviously that could kill me is he ends up getting hella receiving touchdowns in that close. But I think we'll be okay. This is the fan in me. I actually want to look at Anthony Richardson's rushing props real quick. And then we will be moving on to the final team, which is the Jets. Over 7.5. I'm probably going to do it. But yeah, like I said, moving on to the last team is the Jets. The Jets had this season from hell last year. Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays in, popped Achilles. season's over. They went 7-10, scraped together wins last year. I mean, holy shit, was that a rough season last year for them. It was a really, really hard offense to watch. Very, very frustrating offense to watch at times, coaching-wise. Still not the biggest fan of Robert Saleh. I feel like he's just not been the same dude since he's been their coach. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of him. This is pretty much the do-it-now year because they aren't getting rid of Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers stays for one more year, it's not going to be – he ain't going to be going. It's going to be Robert Saleh's ass going. So this is a must-win year for Robert Saleh and their defense. It's, I think, going to be pretty good as well. So hopefully there's a chance he can prove something. They've released C.J. Uzomah. They've re-signed C.J. Mosley. Let's see. They signed Tyrod Taylor, which was a really, really huge signing for them. They actually got a real backup quarterback this year. No offense to Zach Wilson, but Tyrod Taylor, assuming he can stay healthy, will be able to do some stuff for them when need be. They signed Greg Zuerlein, signed Mike Williams, re-signed Solomon Thomas, signed Jalen Holmes. They got Hassan Reddick, who is not reporting to camp just yet while they're in contract talks, but he will probably end up being there. They traded Zach Wilson to Denver. Fifth-year option on Oliver Tucker. Looking past that, I don't think there's any other big names I think I missed. So we can go basically real quick to their two deep. They signed Malachi Corley to a rookie contract. That's probably going to be another young guy they're going to be looking to get to. But like I said, quarterback-wise, Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, they drafted Jordan Travis as well, who will not be a bad guy. Aaron Rodgers is not a bad guy to learn behind, honestly, so he might have some real good chances for stuff. Running back-wise, they got Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis. Look for Breece Hall to be nasty this year. Wide receiver-wise, you got Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Xavier Gibson, Malachi Corey, Alan Lazard, and Jason Brownlee. Man, I really hope I can get Garrett Wilson fantasy again this year. I think the connection between him and Rodgers could be really, really good. If I don't get him, I would love to have me some Breece Hall action. And then you look defensively, they got Jermaine Johnson, Javon Kinlaw. Is this the same Kinlaw? I'm thinking of Dre Greenlaw, never mind. Yeah, they got Javon Kinlaw, Hassan Reddick, C.J. Mosley, Sauce Gardner, D.J. Reed, Michael Carter. A lot of this Israel Abanikanda is the fourth-string running back. I was curious to see if they had him or somebody else I was thinking of on the roster. Or I was thinking Michael Carter, the old veteran running back. But yeah, so like I said, this roster is going to be very, very interesting. Basically, semi-running back from last year with a few better additions, a few still question marks. There's just really not a real evaluation of this team I have just yet because if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, I believe this team has a lot of potential. If he can't, then we might see a repeat of last year where it's, hey, another 9-8 season. Or this team, maybe it's better and they go 8-9 this year, so 7-10. First game to start the year is going to be traveling to the 49ers for week 1, and then they travel to Tennessee week 2. Home versus the Patriots, home versus the Broncos. I don't know where they're going for week 5 against Minnesota, but I believe that's an overseas game. Week 6, they play home against Buffalo. 7, travel to Steelers, and travel to New England. Home versus Houston. Travel to Arizona. Home versus the Colts, and then they get a Week 12 bye, which is clutch to have a bye later in the season. Week 13, home against Seattle. Travel to Minnesota, Jesus. Travel to Miami. Travel to Jacksonville. Home versus Rams. Travel to Buffalo. Home versus Miami. Now, when it comes to their win total, before we talk about a little bit more looking at their schedule, I believe that's like 9.5. If I'm not mistaken, I would not be shocked. It's 8. Yeah, 9.5 minus 162. If I had to guess, I would potentially go over because I think they beat Tennessee. There's 1. Beat New England. There's 2. And this is all assuming Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. Beat Denver. There's 3. They can beat Minnesota. There's 4. If they split with Buffalo, there's a 5th win. They can beat, realistically, Pittsburgh. We'll say they lose that one just for sake of argument. I think they'll sweep New England. Assuming stays healthy, there's 6 wins. Beat Arizona, there's 7. Maybe can beat the Colts, there's 8. They can potentially beat Seattle. I think with how good their roster is, there's 9. Beat Jacksonville, there's 10. And you got the Rams, Buffalo, Miami twice for their 11th win. I mean, it's definitely doable, especially if Aaron Rodgers is able to play closer to his MVP level. And he has. I just don't know what to expect from this Jets offense because we got 4 plays of it last year. They have enough talent to do stuff offensively. They'll probably be trying to sign a big name wide receiver, or at least a very talented wide receiver still. just to put alongside Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, especially if Mike Williams or anybody else gets hurt, they might look to sign another guy as well. So they could be one move away still. But yeah, if I had to pick, I would say I am kind of bullish on this team. So we'll go over 9.5 wins for the Jets. But I'm not going to bet it because it's minus 162. Too nasty for me. I have no interest in that. Some stuff I do have some interest in, though. We'll go to their team specials real quick before I talk about Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson to end the show. Because, we went really, really long, so we aren't going to do any NFL news. We'll save that for a different day. Because, I don't need to go talk about some NFL news about an hour in. I don't think. Jets. Jets scored one touch. Oh, Jets to beat the New England Patriots on the home and at road is minus 135. Not too shocking. Aaron Rodgers, 4,000 yards, plus 130. Breece Hall, 10 plus rushing touchdowns, plus 190. I actually do think that's very doable. Garrett Wilson, 10 plus receiving touchdowns, plus 350. I think that's very doable as well. That's probably going to be the one I bet right now. I do think Breece. I'll write down these two real quick because those are going to be ones I keep eye on. So Breece Hall, 10 rushing is plus 190, and Garrett Wilson to have 10 receiving is plus 360. I think that he potentially will have plus. I think he'll have about 10 with Aaron Rodgers. I think it's truly going to be an amazing season if he's able to stay healthy, because the way he talked about Garrett Wilson and was gushing about him last year, and then to get to play with him, I really, really sucked. Garrett Wilson have 1,400 receiving yards plus 700. I don't think I'm going to go that far. Would be interesting. Aaron Rodgers throw for 40 touchdowns plus 1,200. That'd be insane. Sauce Gardner, 5 interceptions. That would be an insane amount as well. Aaron Rodgers, 5 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, no. I don't think so. Something I will take, though, for them to... Sauce Gardner... Let me see what his interceptions were last year. I don't think they threw at him too much, but that might be something I sprinkle here. I basically have $50, so I'm going to split it up to a 30-20 real quick. I'm going to throw 30 on that. Maybe I just throw... we'll see. I might end up just throwing all 50 on this. Garrett Wilson one, but we'll see. Yeah, he had no interceptions last year. I don't think they really tested him like that, so I'm not going to bet him to score 5. Garrett Wilson, I might do Garrett Wilson 1,400 receiving yards, because like I said, I am very bullish on this connection he's going to have with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be Devontae Adams-esque. We'll see what Garrett Wilson's yards are real quick, and then we'll end it off with what their actual... He had 1,100 yards last year with the rotating cast of guys. If Aaron Rodgers stays in, I think 1,400 is very, very, very doable. That's a shit ton of yards, don't get me wrong. It's a shit ton of yards, but if he's able to get 1,100 with Zach Wilson and all them, I think you can definitely get 1,400 with Aaron Rodgers. So for plus 700, I'll take that. Why not? Wilson plus 700 for 1,400 yards. Okay, and to end it off, we're going to look at Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson's touchdowns over-under, because I'm 100% taking them. For Garrett Wilson, if you're curious what his receiving props are, his over-under is 1,100 yards exactly at minus 112. If you just want to be safe, I would take that. I think he'll easily get over 1,100 again. And then you look at his receiving touchdowns. Garrett Wilson's receiving touchdown total is 7.5. Like I said, if you don't want to do the 10 and get a little nasty with me, I think he'll easily get over 8 touchdowns, and I think he'll get 1,100 yards. I'm talking like it's just a walk in the park to do. It's going to be obviously hard, but I think with how talented the receiver is, and I think if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, he's going to try to find them as much as he can. So I look for that. Breece Hall is 1,025 rushing yards. I'm just going to not take that, even though I think he's going to get a lot of touches. And then Breece Hall touchdowns, 7.5. Like I said, if you don't want to take 10, that's probably the number I would take. I'll probably bet Breece Hall would have 8 touchdowns, and I'll stick with Garrett Wilson's 10. But yeah, that's probably going to do it for today, huh? Yeah, that's going to do it. I think that's perfectly fine with what I got. So, Official bets that I've taken the Patriots to have under 4.5 wins at plus 122. For them to have the worst record at plus 550. And then the Pats 500 to score the least. Is something I'll be looking to take. I haven't taken yet, but I 100% will. Dolphins, I'm going to take them on under 9.5 wins this year. I'm going to take Tyreek Hill potentially to have 13 touchdowns at plus 360. Actually, no, I'm not. Don't ignore that. I'm not taking that Tyreek Hill one. I forgot I wrote that down as a maybe. I will be taking most dirt to have 7.5 rushing touchdowns. The same with Achane. Most dirt's plus 112. Achane is plus 124. I will be taking both of them to have over 7.5 rushing touchdown. I'm pretty much gambling on one of them will be right. For the Bills, I'm taking James Cook to have over 4.5 rushing touchdowns at plus 102. I think he's going to be heavily involved this year, not touching their over-under. And then for the Jets, I'm betting Breece Hall to have over 7.5 rushing touchdowns at minus 112. Garrett Wilson to have 10-plus receiving touchdowns at plus 360. And then Garrett Wilson to have 1,400 receiving yards at plus 700. Man. If I had to give my order for the division, my guess is going to be Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Pats. Jets, Bills could be flopped either way. I would not be shocked if the Jets have the better record by 1 win. Would not be shocked if the Bills are 10-7 and the Jets are 9-8, or vice versa. Jets are 10-7, Bills are 9-8. I can see it going either way, but I think those are going to be the 2 first-place teams. I think the Dolphins are going to be just right under them as well. I think this division is going to be basically like close to a 3-way tie, but not exactly, where you see like 10-9-8 or 10-9-9. Something like that win-wise. I think it's going to basically come down to who beats who in the division. And with how good that Jets defense has a chance to be, that's potentially the team I'm going to look at. It all just rides on Aaron Rodgers being healthy. So like I said, that's going to do it for today. Thursday, we're going to talk about the AFC West. Sorry, AFC North. AFC North. Dirty, grimy division. We got Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, Browns. It's going to be a fun one, man. I can't wait. I'll see everybody then. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for all the support. Can't wait, man. I'll see everybody on Thursday.